This episode of Cheezetalk podcast. I'm your host, Brian Rago. I'm joined with my guest, I'll call you Fitzmagic, Cheap Seats.
Aaron, if you want to.
Aaron.
My government name.
Government name. He's a Chicagoland food critic, and as you can see, he's a Bears fan as well. Before I get to my guest, I'd like to give a shout out to the Open Network for giving me the chance to do these podcasts under their brand. And they are actually 95 followers away from giving away an 8x10 Jair Alexander autographed picture. We've been chipping away at that number here slowly every episode, so it's good to see people are starting to, follow them. So, Aaron, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, for the most part, I'm a lifelong Chicago fan, except for about 10, 11 years when we were in the Mid-South near Memphis, Tennessee. I love Chicago sports. I love Chicago food. And I love talking about all of that too. So, if you see my reviews and videos and you like them, I appreciate it. Never really thought it would get to this point, but it's been a lot of fun doing all that stuff. And I like coming on shows like you, Brian, and talking about it. So
sure. It's got a list of questions here for you.
Yeah.
What made you want to critique food? Just your love for the food, or just kind of getting the word out different spots, or?
Yeah, it kind of started, just the whole posting with food started that summer of 2020, like with COVID, when everybody was just at home and started grilling stuff and posting it. You're kind of bored with what's going on, and it just sort of took off from there. And then it was I've always liked going to different places. I don't have like one specific place that I go to all the time. That kind of started with my dad back in the day, because he used to drive around the city all the time, and I would tag along, and wherever we would stop, we'd find a place to eat. And
Right.
So it's like we just it kind of just started there, and just posting about it, and people commenting like, I haven't been there in years. That's where I used to go as a kid. I love hearing that stuff. I love, the history behind things, because Chicago, we're all about the neighborhoods in Chicago, and we all have our favorite place to go. And it might not be necessarily because it's the best food, but it's the best food because that's where what you grew up on. That's what you remember to be a happy place. And there's a million Italian beefs out there. There's a million pizza places out there, and they're all good,
Right.
And it's all and a lot of it just stems from that nostalgia, from going there with your family, going there with your friends in high school for lunch, things like that. And I love getting that kind of feedback from people.
Yeah, for sure. I know I was talking to you before we went on, and I was telling you about I was down in the Schaumburg area for an event for my daughter, and I've always had a thing for Chicago deep dish pizzas, and we ordered Giordano's, and I've never had better pizza in my life. I don't know if that's saying good or bad about me, but it was so good.
Hey, if you like it, that's all that matters, right? I mean, you're
right.
the one eating it. So it's like, I love Giordano's too. I've been eating Giordano's pizza since I was 8 years old, and I'll have Giordano's anytime it's put in front of me until the day I die. So, there's a million pizza places out there that I would say that about, though, too. I love them all. So
yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of pizza in my life, and that's by far the best that I've had. So
there's great thin crust in Chicago. I'm sure you've probably heard from people, about tavern style. There's great
Yeah,
thin crust. It's just as good. It just depends on what you're in the mood for, you know. So
right. I could
uh,
always go for pizza though. It's
right, yeah.
that's
As
the
long as it's
Italian
hot
side
and
of
it's in
me.
front of me, you know, I'm good. Great.
What's the best beverage that you would pair with pizza?
The best beverage. Okay, so now I love a good RC cola. I'm gonna have cats coming up here pretty soon.
That's okay. I have cats by me too.
um, I love a good RC cola, but the absolute my favorite pairing with pizza is sun-kissed orange. That's my favorite drink to go along with pizza. And there's a place um, in up north. I think it's in Niles, Barnaby's Pizza Place. A lot of people know about it. You get orange pop, Sunkist right out of the fountain and into that big old pitcher that you can remember like Pizza Hut having back in the day. And that's I can't get any better than that. Pizza and some Sunkist orange.
Kind of like back in the day at McDonald's with the high C orange.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. People love that. Why they got rid of it, I'll never know.
Right. I know when my life, I worked for 7 Up here in Green Bay, and
Oh,
we distributed RC,
yeah.
and I
Nice.
loved the art and cherry RC and then
Yeah.
diet cherry RC. It was so good, but really wasn't really a market for it too much. So I think they quit carrying certain brands or whatever.
You
Speaking
can
of
still,
pizza, what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say you can still get RC at restaurants around here in Chicago. There's
Yeah,
yeah,
RC is still up here. Like we have like the regular RC, but I think like we have the diet right. It's kind of what
yeah,
they use for the whatever.
yeah.
But depends on, I guess, like you said, where you go and who carries what. And
Hmm.
best pizza spot in Chicagoland that you've been
That's
to.
okay. Another tough one. There's a lot of great ones. Barnaby's is a great one. I had a lot of memories there. Our little league pizza parties were always at Barnaby's. Great pizza parlor style. Just go in and have fun. South Side, I love Palermo's Pizza on 95th Street. Um, it's one of my favorites. I'd make no. If you know me, you know that. Great restaurant, great atmosphere. My wife likes the chicken parm or the eggplant parmesan, so they got other things other than pizza. But I love Palermo's on 95th. I also love the original Lou Malnati's. It's in Lincolnwood, just outside
Okay,
of the city on the northwest side. Love their pizza. Love the original restaurant. That's where my wife and I ate the night I proposed to her. So I really, have some great memories about that.
sure.
So yeah, those would be if you were to give me like a yeah, Gino's East downtown. That's a great spot to go. Um, used to go there in high school a lot with my friends. It's a great one. And of course, there's little Vito and Nick's on the south side. Great, bar pizza, thin crust, really thin and crispy. You get some pizza and beer with some guys. It's a little. It hasn't changed much over the years. Still got the same probably carpeting along the walls that they had back in the day. So yeah, it's hard to say just one. I'm sorry, I don't mean
Right.
to go on, but yeah, it just depends on the location you're at, what you're in the mood for. So.
Yeah. We're gonna switch here short or quickly for best spot for a Chicago dog.
Another one, there's a can't give you just one. I refuse to do just one.
Yeah.
North Side Super Dog. I'm sure you've probably heard of Super Dog. It's a great
Yep.
spot. Went there high school a lot, the drive-in. Um, let's see another one. Well, okay, I just went to Pop's Beef and I got a hot dog from Pop's Beef for my lunch. They got good hot dogs. um, One place, I think they only have a location in O'Hare Airport now, if I'm not mistaken, but it's called Gold Coast Dogs. They used to have a location downtown and one in Union Station. They make great Chicago style hot dogs. If you happen to be in O'Hare um, and you see it, stop there. You're getting a good one there. But yeah, there's a lot of hot dog places out there too.
Yeah. You don't put ketchup on a hot dog, do you?
No, I have once. I have a few times, like in my younger days. I mentioned that on Twitter or X or whatever a couple days ago, and it got a lot of
Yeah.
attention. Oh, let me not forget Dave's Hot Dogs in North Lawndale on Roosevelt Road. It's the oldest hot dog stand in Chicago from back in the 30s. And again, I don't think it's changed much in 90 years. If you get a chance, go there. They've got great hot dogs there. You can even get like a deep fried Polish there. They'll deep fry it for you, Polish
Wow.
sausage. But
Sounds amazing.
yeah, it's very good. Used to go there with my dad a lot when I was a kid, and I was just back over there a couple weeks ago. Did a review on them, and yeah, it's a great spot.
Awesome. When you have leftover pizza, do you eat it cold or warmed up?
Depends. Like deep dish, I put it in my air fryer.
Right.
Get a little crispy. But like if I've got something like you know like a Domino's or something, I will eat that cold and maybe dip it in a little ranch or something.
Yeah. Kind of like when they say like fries, put them in the air fryer, just like you
Yeah,
got them at the restaurant. Taste exactly like you just, got them.
yeah.
I've seen a couple of your, I don't know if they've been reviews or just you've had food on the grill. I know you like
Yeah.
to grill. What is
Hmm.
your favorite? Like, what is one of your, like, say your top 5 foods to grill or top
Okay, all
3?
right. So well, last night we did steak for Mother's Day. Got a request from all the moms and the ladies in my family for steak. We did that. That's always a great one. I love doing beer can chicken on the grill. Takes a little bit, about 45 minutes or so to cook, but it's worth the wait. And I love doing uh, bratwurst on the grill. I put them in beer, boil them on the grill with beer and onions, and then brown them after they're ready to go. Bratwurst are one of them. It's that is a simple pleasure in life that I'll never give up. So,
Brats.
yep.
Do you ever make pizza on the grill? Do you have like
I
a
yeah,
frozen
I get
pizza
a
or
I have a couple. I did a couple weeks ago. Not homemade, but like get the frozen pizzas, like a home run in pizza,
right?
um, and put it on the grill. You got to watch it because it might burn the bottom a little bit, but it doesn't take long, and it gets nice and bubbly hot. And yeah, I love pizza on the grill. Gives it a
Sure.
nice little a different flavor too. A little.
Okay, I'm just going through my list here.
Oh, speaking of pizza, if you don't mind, so that Pops, of course, they have. They've got hot dogs and Italian beef, and they also have the pizza puff. This is, I don't know if you've ever had one.
Is that like a calzone?
It kind of is. It's actually made. You know, um, with a tortilla wrapped
Okay.
around pizza ingredients, deep fried.
Okay.
And one of my rules that I live by: if a place has a pizza puff, I'm buying a pizza puff. So,
Yeah.
so this
Nothing
is
wrong with that. Nothing that make me wanna, jump through your screen and eat that.
right. They're delicious. They're delicious.
What are your ideal toppings on a pizza? What are your favorite toppings?
If I'm ordering one all by myself, like no one around, like I'm going sausage and pepperoni combo on it. That's like just what I love. As far as like when I'm out with the family, we kind of come to an agreement on sausage, onion, and green pepper. That's kind of like our go-to that we all can agree on. Um, if you know me and my account, I stay away from mushrooms as much as possible. I don't like them. I'm sorry, Mailman Jack, but I do not like the mushrooms. I think it's a waste of good stomach space. So
I go with I like the deluxe everything.
everything, just throw it all on there. Yeah.
Yep, except for anchovies. No
Oh,
anchovies.
okay.
Um, as you know, I love my cheese.
Yeah.
What's your favorite type of cheese?
Like I like to say, within reach. So that's my go-to answer. I love cheese as well. Uh, like
Oh,
my
good.
favorite on a burger, like if I'm grilling a burger, I love Gouda cheese on a burger. I think that's to me, it's the perfect balance. If I'm having like a cold sandwich, like some cold cuts, I like Munster cheese on there. Good
Okay.
slice of Munster but I don't like melting Munster that much. And of course, give me some cheddar cheese, some cheese curds, and yeah.
Yeah, cheese curds. Wisconsin's the place for that.
Oh yeah.
There's a cheese store by it's within like it's like a 2 minute drive from my house. It's kind of out in the country, and I was there one time. I like hot stuff, so I happened to see they had a ghost pepper cheese,
Oh, okay.
and that's it has a bite, but it ain't terrible. Like if you like spicy things,
Yeah.
and if you were to make like a burger and top it off with a slice of that and melt it, that
Mhm.
is super good. And then there's a place on the way to Shawano, Wisconsin, that had Carolina Reaper cheddar,
Mm.
and that was it's not like it's blazing hot, but it's
You like
for
the
people that are
spicy?
yeah, it's spicy. I mean, it's those are my two favorite cheeses.
Okay.
But
Nice.
I'll eat anything that, like you said, it was within reach.
Yeah,
You know.
definitely. I like the Merck's cheddar too on a burger.
Yeah,
Little Merck's that spread, put it on a guaranteed rate. The White Sox Stadium has a great hamburger with Merck's cheddar cheese on it, and it's delicious. It's I can hardly ever go to a game without eating one, no matter if I've already eaten going to the game. I got
right.
yeah.
Uh no, you're probably used to the Illinois drivers. What are your thoughts on out of state drivers? Did we go too slow
Oh,
for you?
no, I think it go too fast. I was talking to my niece who lives in Michigan, and
Sure.
she was in Chicago for a conference, and she's like, "Why do people go so slow around here?" I mean, well, the entire state of Michigan's like 70 and above, you know? And so
Right.
she's in the Detroit area. They're flying around, and like, well, you just can't drive that fast around here. There's just not enough room, especially when you get into the city. So I'd say probably to go too fast. Just expect that there's more room out there.
Yeah, I've been in Chicago a number of times, and I'm always shocked on how fast people go. I
Oh, really?
mean,
Okay.
it's I grew up in an area in Madison where it's called the Belt Line. It's kind of like the freeway, between Madison and then it splits off to like Sun Prairie up in the Green Bay. But it's 55 miles an hour. So then I moved up. I'm up by Green Bay now, and the highway is 70 miles an hour.
Okay.
So I mean, whenever I go back home, it's always a big change. You go from 70 miles an hour. I'm going like
Yeah.
77, 80 to
50.
55, 60. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you're used to that. Then you go to Chicago, and you're like, wow. I'm surprised there's not more cops out there pulling people over, but that's why they have cameras and all
Yeah.
that other fun stuff. And
There's not room to pull people over half the time. It's
right,
always so
it'd be like a
fast.
high speed chase.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny when we were down there for Schaumburg. We the way home we took a route that took us all around the tolls. I never realized you could take routes that made you avoid the tolls, paying tolls, but we did it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it took you a little longer, but yeah.
It was kind of cool though, because you got to see all these like bigger houses like out in the middle of nowhere, and
Mhm.
then you bypass where the amusement park down there. Oh, I can't think of it.
Yeah,
Is it
talking about
Gurney?
Six Flags, right? No?
Yeah, you go like around. It'd be like around the right side, heading up to Wisconsin, around the back side of it, and it was pretty cool. It wasn't that much of a time change difference, really, as far as if you're gonna go the
Are you,
toll route.
is that Route 41? Is that what you
I think so.
recall?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can take that a long way, I think.
you pretty much ran parallel with whatever 94 or whatever it was
Hmm.
down
Yeah.
there, but you're on the it would be the east side of the highway going all the way up. So that was pretty cool. I mean, just to take a different route. I've been to and from Chicago several times and on 94, 94, 94. Then you take a different route and you get to see something different. And of
Yeah.
course, I wasn't driving; my wife was driving, so I could look around more than she could.
Okay.
Gonna switch it over to sports.
Okay.
Thoughts on the Bears front office?
Jeez. Throw it right out there. As far if you're like thinking like general manager, like Ryan Poles, I think there might be in a better position than I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Okay.
Um, they're actually thinking forward. We're not still stuck in like 1965. We're not still thinking of doing things the way George Halas did it. God rest his soul. They are thinking modern. They're thinking modern offense. I mean, you can tell from the draft. Um, they're thinking. They're thinking. They're looking beyond what's right in front of them. I think, and so I think things are changing. This is not your father's Bears front office. That's my. It might all fall apart, but I just think just the idea that there's just a different way of thinking up there right now is encouraging.
Do you agree with getting rid of Justin Fields?
Um, I was a big supporter of his. Let me just put that out there. I was a big supporter because I thought that he was good enough. I don't. He might not necessarily be ultimately as talented a player as like Caleb Williams is what they got, but I thought they were building around him very well to a point where a capable quarterback, which I think he's capable, could do a lot of good things. Look who he's with right now in Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson, kind of similar. Wasn't the greatest. He wasn't Patrick Mahomes, but he was around a good system in Seattle, and they won with him. I thought they were going to go the route of getting more draft picks. Maybe trading that number one pick. That being said, I think they've made ultimately the right decision. I just don't think you could pass up on a guy like Caleb Williams. This wasn't 2023, that quarterback class where they traded the first pick to Carolina. Thank you. Um, this is a different player, and I think you never know, but I think this is as good a shot as they've had to have a really one of those Hall of Fame style quarterbacks.
Sure.
Hopefully that ages well. We'll see.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked when they did it. Like I said in my previous podcast, I liked Justin Fields not just because, well, I liked the way he played. I liked the way he played in college. I mean, he had an arm, he has size, he can run. And they got him DJ Moore last year, and they had a chance of keeping him and drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. I think would have been an awesome combination. But I wish him well in Pittsburgh, and I think by halfway through the year he'll take over the starting spot in Pittsburgh over Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I think he's got a shot out there. I think he'll be starting at some point next year.
Do you think? How do you think Williams does his first year? Think he's going to hit some road bumps?
Oh, definitely. I could see, yeah, he's rookie quarterbacks are going to have problems. I mean, not even as good as CJ Stroud was, he had a few bad games in there too. But
Right.
I think he's not coming into a horrible team like, say, if he were going to, New England this
Right.
year. I mean, this team has been preparing along the way. They just happen to have luck into the number one draft choice this year. Usually, a team that's progressed as far as the rebuilding as the Bears are, they don't have that chance. At this point, they're going to go with their Justin Fields. They're going to go with their guy they've had. Um, but the lines improved. The defense, the second half of the year last year was one of the best in the league. They've added even more weapons. The Keenan Allen trade is going to be huge, if anything, just from a depth point of view. And then Rome Odunze. If you can't get Marvin Harrison Jr., that's not a bad consolation pick. So I think he's coming into a very a solid setup. So is he going to have bumps in the road? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
seeing the pro game is as good as you think you are. It's totally different. But it's like a prediction would go. They were 7-10 last year. Could they flip that and go 10-7? I think they could. I don't.
Yeah. I hope they don't. No,
Just
I. It's hard. I always got a bad vibe from Caleb Williams. That's just my personal, just the way he carried himself sometimes. But that's it is what it is, and I don't wish anyone ever to get hurt or ever have a
Right.
fail. So I mean, I'm just being a Packer fan and just speaking where I'm coming from. Kind of like, what do you think about him not sitting behind, let's say, a veteran for a year or two? Like in Green Bay, we had Aaron behind Brett, and then we had Jordan behind Aaron.
Well, I guess it comes down to what veteran are you going to sit behind. I mean, that
Yeah,
Jordan Love is a great example of just a great situation. You had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in front of him. So yeah, if you bring a guy like Caleb Williams in and he's sitting behind Nick Foles, I mean that's just not going to work. It's like what kind of backup are you going to have? Because you got this guy sitting there on the side that everybody's. I think the pressure would be too much unless you had Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Rodgers had Brett Favre. Unless you had somebody who was just clear, far and away better that you said, yeah, because you're going to get to the point if you got an average quarterback out there and you're losing, you're like, well, why don't we just lose with Caleb Williams, and
right.
get him experience? So it'd be great to have a Hall of Famer sitting on your bench to play in front of him, but it's only happened twice that I can remember, and it's both happened in Green Bay. So
Yeah, I was kind of hoping like he could like sit behind Jay Cutler for a few years.
Jay Cutler, oh my
God. Who's your most disliked Packer? One that just you can't stand.
I'm going way back. This is how far mine go back. It's Charles Martin, 1986, body slamming Jim McMahon.
Yeah.
I've never gotten over that. Okay. McMahon had an arm on him until that. Then he, messed up his shoulder and he never had it after that. That's still my most hated Packer.
That makes total sense.
So
what are your thoughts on the new stadium proposal?
so right now they're still trying to get the lakefront thing down. I don't think that'll happen. I could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times on these things, but I think they're still using that as a way to try to negotiate the tax deal out in Arlington Heights. I guess the one benefit, if they do get the stadium on the lakefront, from what I've understood, is they won't be dealing with property taxes. It'd be owned mostly by the city. So, but if you go to Arlington Heights, you own your own stuff. You got your own stadium, put up your own hotels, things like that. But I think there's enough of they're called Friends of the Lakefront, I believe. They actually stopped George Lucas from building a Star Wars museum on the lakefront. So if you can stop George Lucas and you can stop Star Wars, and they're just there as a group that just makes sure that the lakefront is being treated, as this beautiful park. And I have nothing against what they're doing. I think it's a good thing to have that checked and balanced there because you just don't want to just the lakefront's beautiful and you want to keep it that way. And I think they have enough support that I think they could end up just putting it in litigation for years if they wanted to. So I think ultimately it's going to end up back in Arlington Heights, but who knows?
Do you think they'll build a dome?
They should. Something. Okay. I mean, if they really want to get their bang for their buck and have big bowl games for football or basket, NCAA. I mean, you look at something like they got out in LA. I think that's just the wave of the future. Those things like that, and I would hope they would get something. If you want to do a retractable style or something, fine. But I think you got to put a roof over anything you build anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of thinking. When you think of like the NFC North, you always think of like the weather, like snow games and stuff. And it'd be crazy. Green Bay would be the only team in the NFC North without a dome, and I don't think they'll ever consider having a dome.
No, I don't think so.
When you hear Green Bay, what do you think of as far as like football,
Exactly that. As a kid, I was started watching football in the early '80s. The Bears dominated them, and then the last 30 years, it's been nothing but losses. But I do. I immediately think of football when I think of Green Bay. I've never actually stopped. I've driven through that area a few times. I used to have a buddy. We would go fishing up in northern Wisconsin, and we would drive by. And I've never actually stopped, um, and which I think I should one of these if I ever get back up that way. But yeah, you think of football, you think of cold weather, you think of tailgating. I think you think of. But yeah, mostly I think of just the last 30 years of losing to that team up there.
Yeah, with my guest I had on earlier this week or last week, Angie, I was
Mhm.
telling her some stats, like combined stats of like win losses with Aaron and Brett, and it was
Oh
just
God,
crazy. But yeah, if you ever do stop, I would suggest for like the history of the game and even just like I mean, you
yeah,
may not be a Packer fan, but go to the Packers Hall of Fame within Lambeau Field. It has a lot of rich history in there with game worn cleats and jerseys and all this the history behind the Packers and
yeah,
how it all started. And it's pretty cool. Just you're in a small town and there's this big old stadium. I always tell people I'm from Madison. My wife is from the Green Bay area, which is where we are now. And when we first started dating, I was like a little kid. Oh, can we go to the Packers, training camp or whatever? And
yeah.
it's such a big deal. Like, oh my gosh, there's Lambeau Field. Now that I live up here, it's like, yep, there's Lambeau. It's just another day. Um,
Hey, well, let me ask you, where should I eat up in Green Bay?
a lot of there's the Nicolay restaurant has really good breakfast. That's in De Pere.
Mhm.
There's a Victoria's in Appleton that's really good. It's like an Italian place.
Mhm.
Um, Kroll's, which is rather there's one by the stadium. And there's one on the east side that has good hamburgers and chili.
Okay.
I there's a lot of lot of local places that we go to. You got obviously your McDonald's. You got your chain restaurants. You got Culver. Have you ever had Culver's?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we have Culver's. Pancake House in Green Bay. 1919 Kitchen and Tap is inside Lambeau Field. It used to be Curly's Pub. That's
Okay.
where I had my rehearsal dinner when I got married.
Oh, nice.
There's a lot of hole in the wall bars that have good food, but I'd have to be prepared to get a list next time. I didn't know I was going to get asked. But I figure with you being the food critic, you would know a place at the top of your head.
Oh yeah. That's a area that I just haven't had much experience going to.
Yeah,
But
no, I mean you drive it and all of a sudden, boom, there's Green Bay. Like, the bigger cities are like Appleton and
yeah.
um, I'm sure you've heard of like Door County, Wisconsin. There's a lot of once you like Door County, Wisconsin. If you can picture my hand, like the state of Wisconsin, like Door County is like up here, from
Gotcha.
like here to the tip of my thumb is like from Sturgeon Bay up until Gills Rock, which is where the ferry goes over to Port Washington, the island. There's no fast food chains. It's all mom and pop
Oh, nice.
owned
Okay.
restaurants. The last one you'll meet is a Culver's before you get out of Sturgeon Bay.
Uh,
But Door County is an awesome place to visit, just to go up in summertime, and a lot of cool destinations to go up there and tour and national parks and whatnot. But yeah, my go-to is the Nicolay restaurant in De Pere, which is where my wife and I go quite a bit. So,
okay.
um, favorite Chicago Bear of all time.
Oh, Walter. Um, you can't go wrong with Walter Payton. Um, he's really one of the first football memories that I had. Trying to think of somebody other than Walter Payton because that's just like too obvious. I was a big Devin Hester guy. I mean,
No, yeah.
yeah, he was always fun to watch because you just never know what was going to happen with him. So yeah, those are probably my two favorite. And Jim McMahon, I love Jim McMahon. Love Jim McMahon.
Until he got hurt.
Oh, I still loved him. I was actually at the. They traded him in the preseason of 1989 to the Chargers, and I was at the game like the day after they traded him. It was the Bears Chargers, and just seeing him come in off the field onto the field in that uniform, seeing him in a number 9 in a San Diego Chargers uniform was really weird. But the ovation he got that night for a preseason game, it was packed. Soldier Field was packed, and it was he got I can still hear how loud the crowd was that night. It was amazing.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to that. I was at Lambeau when the Packers retired Brett Favre's number. Like
Oh,
it wasn't a game. It was like in the summertime, and like it sold out. Like my buddy had these tickets. He's like, "Hey, you want to go?" I'm like, "Absolutely."
yeah,
And they gave him like a 10-minute like standing round of applause. It was pretty cool. Even though after he went and played for the Jets and for the Vikings, and
yeah,
you gotta always respect him for what he did for your organization.
right.
No, is Lou Malnati's Back to the Food? Is that only in Chicago?
I think they're only in Chicago. They might be. That's a good question. I could check that out. I think they're only a Chicago. I don't think they've branched out, or they might. Man, I don't know. I gotta check that out. But I think they are just exclusive to Chicago. Now you can order it online, and they've been shipping pizzas through the mail for over 30 years. So they were like the first one to jump on that. You could get a frozen Lou Malnati's pizza within a couple of days.
Same
Since
with Giordano's.
yeah, yeah,
Because I've tagged them. I've tagged Giordano's before. I think it was on Twitter, and they responded with like the link to order the pizza.
yeah, right.
I don't know how my wife would feel about that. All of a sudden, you got a whole case of deep dish pizza showing up at the house.
Hey, you got dinner ready, man. Taken care of.
Do you think? Huh?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, do you think the offensive line will be good enough to protect Caleb Williams this year?
They better be. Yeah, they are better. If Tevin Jenkins stays healthy, I think that's the key right there. Because when he's on the field, everything changes. Their running game is better, their pass protection is better, but just keeping him on the field for at least 13 or 14 games, that's the key right there. But I think it's going to come down to if he stays healthy.
Yeah, it's all about getting better at your weakness. And I look at the Packers last year. I mean, their defense had their injuries. Alexander was out for a while. Some guys stepped in and played good, but our weakness was the middle of our defense. We couldn't stop a nosebleed.
Yeah,
And I think you get a new coordinator in, and then you get some draft picks, and you switch the scheme to a 4-3 defense. I think it's going to stop that nosebleed up in the middle, and I think the defense is going to be a hell of a lot better this year, and our offense can, if they get better than they were last year, that's a positive for us because we have a really young offensive army, as you want to call it.
They should. You would think they would take another step forward with how young they were. So, but yeah, you're right. And like Jordan Love was kind of like the opposite of Justin Fields in that Fields was great when everything broke down. He didn't. It was like he was so hesitant while the play was still developing, like to hit the guy before he was open. Where Jordan Love, you tell him what to do, he's going to go do it. It's when I could be wrong, but just in the games I saw, he seemed have the problems when the protection broke down. He wasn't going to bust a 35-yard run. Like Fields was like those were his best plays when he would get out of the pocket and make something happen. Where Love was good within the confines of the play itself. It's like if you could mix the two quarterbacks together, you'd have the perfect quarterback. But they've got such a good offensive system with it, just the coaches up there. Uh,
Yeah,
that he's in such a great spot. If he stays healthy, there's no reason why he's not going to be good for a long time.
yeah, and I've said too that um, when Aaron Rodgers was still there, I think the last few years he was there, maybe longer. I think people were walking on eggshells with him. Like
Oh yeah, probably.
they wanted to do things to appease him and make him happy.
Yeah,
Because if you're on offense and you don't make him happy, guess what?
right.
You're not going to get the ball. If you don't get the ball, you don't get paid.
Yeah,
You
right.
know. So I think a lot. I was just reading an article about the coordinator that went from Green Bay to the Jets. Well, the coordinator that they had in Green Bay, I think he went to coach the Broncos, got fired. Hackett,
Mhm.
Daniel Hackett.
Okay, yeah.
He was a coordinator for the Jets last year, and he would call play during training camp or whatever, and Aaron would always switch it out.
Oh,
And I think
okay.
he was doing a lot of that in Green Bay, I think, too.
Yeah,
And I think now we can see the offense that Matt LaFleur wants to run, and we saw it big time last year, and it was once they all clicked and were on the same map, it was fun to watch. I mean, at
yeah,
least for me, it was,
yeah,
Um, but it's just crazy how uh, a quarterback makes such a difference, and you get rid of him, and then like the whole team, it seems like they're relieved that he's gone.
right. Yeah.
Um,
The thing about Love with Jordan Love is he is like good as Mahomes. No, nobody's as good as Mahomes, but he's good enough to win. And that's what I was like thinking with like Justin Fields. You've got somebody that's capable back there, athletically, can make all the throws. That's why I thought they were going to stick with him the whole time, just build up even more draft choices. But yeah, Love's in a good system. He's definitely good enough, and you put the right things around him, that they're going to be all right. I think the NFC North is set for for a, maybe a decade right now, possibly. If
yeah,
Minnesota's not far off if they've got their quarterback. This is this year. Green Bay was how close to getting to the NFC Championship, and then you've got a Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packer NFC Championship. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's
but,
kind of weird how Detroit came into Green Bay and just blew us out. Then we went into Detroit and beat them there, and
right,
even going to Dallas and just blowing out the Cowboys.
yeah.
I was joking with a guy I had on. He's a big Cowboys fan that the Packers have more playoff wins in Jerry World than the Cowboys do.
Gosh, jeez, that's crazy. Wow.
But yeah, it's I think the NFC North is going to be one of the more competitive divisions.
For
I
a
think,
long time right now, I think.
yeah, and even like the additions of Josh Jacobs for the Packers. Yeah, we lost Aaron Jones,
Mhm.
but there's a 3-year age difference there. Jacobs is younger,
Yeah.
and I mean he can get injured, but I don't think he has the injury history that Aaron Jones has. And then getting Xavier McKinney for safety is at 24 years old is still, I can't believe we were able to get him. But
Yeah, that was a good pick. Yeah, that
they
really was.
both came out and said straight up one of the main things that sold them to come to Green Bay was Jordan Love.
Okay.
When before you had Aaron in press conferences saying, people come to Green Bay to play with me. Who came? I mean, we re-signed Randall Cobb to come play with you.
Yeah.
What'd that do?
Right.
Nothing. So well, you want to know what? I think we are done with my questions. I know your food's got to be cold by now.
I'm good, man. I do want to throw out a couple more names for hot dogs. Because I was thinking that one I kind of drew a blank on. But if you're ever driving through Chicago and you drive by a Maxwell Street Depot where there's a bunch of them, there's a couple dozen of them around Chicago. Stop in, get a hot dog there, or a Polish sausage. That's a great place. Cash only. Make sure you got cash on you. Um, 35th Street Red Hots, just down from the ballpark at Guaranteed Rate Field. Great place to get a spot before a game. Or the More Than Dogs truck. They've got a little truck on 34th and Shields before the game that they bring out. They've got great hot dogs too.
What do you think of White Castle?
Love White Castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's love White Castle.
What I did when I used to build, telecommunication buildings for like power plants and stuff, and we'd set them on site, and we went to one over off of like North Pulaski one time, and the job site owner brought us a big case of White Castle.
Oh, nice. There you go.
So it was I think it was like fall or winter, and
Yeah.
to heat them up, we had like a big construction propane heater blowing onto the White Castle
nice.
as we ate them. So
Yeah.
and that might not have done my health too well, but
Hey, it's good for the soul, right?
right. Well, listen, Aaron, I appreciate you joining me. Where can people find you at Cheap Seats 411 on Twitter?
Yep. On Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and I am also on YouTube, Fitzmagic Shy. I got all my stuff there. I've got putting some bigger projects together. Hopefully, get them done this summer. But I'll keep doing the reviews at least once a week. But yeah, I'm at Cheap Seats 411 on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, and then YouTube is Fitzmagic Shy.
Alrighty, and I will tag you in this when I upload it to YouTube within the next half hour.
Nice. Thank you for having me on today. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you've given me more and more maybe drive to go around and give cheese reviews.
There you go, man. Do it. Just get out there and do it.
I'll have to get a hold of some cheese owners and go from there.
Yeah.
All right, man. Enjoy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.